Alright, what's going on, everybody? Jukebox Hero here. Today I've decided to start recording a walkthrough of all the Souls games. I'm going to be starting with Dark Souls 3, as I decided I wanted to go with the trilogy first, and then just kind of go from my favorite to least favorite in the trilogy itself. So 3 seemed like the best way to start out, especially since I know this game extremely well. With all the Souls games in general, I've played them, I don't know how many times at this point. So, I figured, why not give it a shot? I know there's a billion different walkthroughs and things like that anybody can watch to be able to get through these games. But so if you find yourself watching this video, I appreciate it. These playthroughs are going to be all bosses, not necessarily like 100% quote unquote, because I feel like that kind of indicates trying to get achievements and everything like that. And man, if you've ever platinumed any of the Dark Souls games, and you know how ridiculous they can be to get all those achievements, so I'm not putting myself through that torture ever again. It's something that I've done both on Xbox when that was before I had a PC, and then again on Steam. So I've done all of that a lot of times, and I'm not going to do it again. If you are interested in how to get all those achievements, there's plenty of things that you can look up, plenty of good guides to help you through that. Just don't expect that to be in these playthroughs. But like I said, I'm going to go through all bosses. I'm also going to try to get basically every item in the game so that you know where things are at. Yeah, so just going to start off with a new file here on Dark Souls 3. This was the first Souls game I ever completed all the way through. So it definitely has a special place in my heart. Also going to be skipping through basically most of the cutscenes in the game. They're not really, all that necessary to, have on these videos. I encourage you, if it's your first playthrough, to definitely watch through all the cutscenes. There might be a few that I decide to watch because they're especially cool, but for the most part they're going to get skipped. But yeah, so here we are on the character creation screen. I'm going to be going very basic when it comes to Dark Souls 3 anyway, and going with the Knight class. If you've played Dark Souls 1, then you know that your starting class has somewhat of a big effect on how things are going to move throughout the game. Similar to Dark Souls 3, but one of the things that's different is if you were to go with Knight on DS1, you're going to be fat rolling if you have all that armor on, as opposed to DS3. They're much more liberal with the overall carrying weight and everything like that. So even with this full Knight armor, we're going to be medium rolling, which as long as you're not fat rolling, you're setting yourself up for success. So it's going to go with the basic Knight class. Burial Gift, we are, let's see, we're going to go with the Young White Branch. This is something that will not necessarily come in handy right from the beginning of the game. If you go with this, you're probably like, what in the world? I used it and it turned me into something. Not the use of it. This is a quote-unquote key item that will allow you to skip past getting shot a billion miles away by this giant shooting arrows. So that's just a nice little protection to have at that point of the game and not have to worry about dodging all those. And to be honest, the rest of the starting gifts, they're not anything to write home about. Black Firebomb would probably be my second choice, only for the tutorial boss, as it can absolutely wreck his second phase. But again, it's not really necessary. So we're going to go with that Young White Branch. All right. I don't care too much about this kind of stuff, but it is just too fun to create just a monstrosity of a character face. So if you just hit similar face a billion different times, you're going to get something quite cursed. Especially if we go to these sliders, put them one way or another. And then we go similar face. Now we're going to start getting some really weird stuff. Yeah, that looks good. nice and shriveled. We're going to go with a sickly hue. No, wait, we want pallid for this. Yeah. He's going to look like he is undead. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. Let's change the hair too. Go with the good old bowl cut. We're gonna go blue hair. Heck yeah, there we go. Beautiful. Okay. Alrighty. And we are good to start. Alright, so this first part is just going to be going through the tutorial area. Things are pretty straightforward in here. If you don't know how to play Dark Souls at all, these little dev messages will tell you what some of the controls are and everything, so if you need to go through those, by all means. You'll also see that I'm two-handing my weapon. I tend to defer to that in Dark Souls 3 as, I don't really take a lot of time to learn parry windows and everything like that. So the shield is kind of just there in case I really want to have some defense. But for the most part, I'm going to be two-handing my weapon just for that extra damage. Alright, so this area is pretty much just full of these guys, these little hollowed creatures. This is where you get your Ashen Estus, so that's something, if you are going with a magic build, you're going to need that to refill your MP, if you do go that route. Otherwise, you can use that flask to allocate more to your Estus, which is what I'm going to be doing, but I'll get to that once we get to Firelink Shrine. These guys don't really give you much in terms of souls or anything, but again, they're just here as a tutorial, so if you haven't played any Dark Souls before, they're a good little intro into how enemies will work. Okay, if you really want to test your luck, and again, you're inexperienced with Souls games, you come over here and you can see that Ravenous crystal lizard over there. He is really tough if you don't have any experience, and even on a tutorial, like, you're not doing a lot of damage to him, like on a brand new game file, so he can definitely be a little tricky, but he gives some good rewards and souls early on, so we're going to take the time to kill him. I almost just tried to jump like Elden Ring, that was cool. So, stance break, that's something, that little riposte that we did there, that's something that they, gotta heal a little bit, that they came out with in Dark Souls 3, something a little that you'll see a lot in Elden Ring if you've played that. This is kind of where that whole thing originated. So, if you break their stance, they'll stagger, giving you an opportunity to riposte and do some big damage. Ooh, and there we go. So like I said, even on a low level, it's really easy to die to that guy. So take precautions. Alright, again, if you're new to Souls games, whenever you die, you can pick up your souls that you left behind when you died. Man, obviously it's been a while since I played DS3. Dude, there we go. And another stagger, that should be enough to take him down. All right, so we're given a Titanite skill. Depending on what weapons you decide to use for your playthrough, Titanite skills will help you upgrade certain weapons. So always good material, and if not, you can just sell it. You can see that guy gave us about 4,000 souls, so definitely worth it early on to get a level or two. Alright, so moving on. Gonna make sure that this guy doesn't shoot us as we're leaving. Alright, so that little effect there that you see, again, if you've played Elden Ring, you're probably familiar with that system. Sometimes if you clear a group of enemies, you're rewarded with another charge of your Estus Flask. So you see I was at 0, now I'm at 1 after that little effect that played. So sometimes it is worth it taking your time to clear out an area of enemies. Alright, got some more hollows here to finish off. You can already see that these ones are a little tougher, as I'm not one-shotting them like I was previous ones. But they're still fairly easy to take down. This guy's got a shield. It's, for the most part, enemies with shields are really easy to break their stance and then, just take out. Unless they've got like a great shield. Those ones are a little bit tougher. You can always go with the good old kick maneuver though to take their shield out. I'll show that when we get to a point. Alright, so right here you can see there's an item on top of that coffin, but jumping does not work in this game like it does in something like Elden Ring. Jumping is you're holding in B and then you press left stick as you're running to jump. So the trick here is to run all the way to the edge and then jump right at the end, and that will get you to the item. So nice little tutorial there of how that works. We just got a Titanite shard. Those are required to upgrade your basic weapons. Right here we just did a plunge attack, so as you're falling in the air, if you press light attack R1, you'll come down and plunge on an enemy and do a lot more damage. Alright, so that is all enemies cleared out, and now we are at the tutorial boss, Iudex Gundyr. This boss doesn't start automatically. You'll see he's got this coiled sword drilled into him. The fight starts once you remove that sword. You'll also see that those fire bombs, I put them, the ones that we just picked up, I put them on my consumable menu, as in his second phase he's really weak to fire, so we're going to hurl those at him and do some big damage. He is a fairly straightforward boss, but in my opinion he's probably the best tutorial boss that From Software has ever made, as he really does a good job of testing any new players. As he's standing up, he gives you kind of an opportunity to put some attacks in. So definitely take advantage of that time. Oops, I had my fire bombs equipped and not my Estus. That was great. Okay, so this is the phase 2 transition. That was dumb positioning by me. But this little Pussaman thing that he's got all around him, it's pretty freaky, but he's really not all that dangerous. Goodness. I am out of practice in DS3. That is for sure. Yeah, for the most part, just try to sit close to him and dodge those attacks. If you're at range, you're kind of giving him an opportunity to hit you with some big attacks. So just stay close to him, kind of just strafe around him. Again, not very hard if you've been playing these games before, but he can definitely be a test if this is your first Souls game. So But yeah, as a reward for killing him, you are given the coiled sword. This is a key item that we're going to be using here in a second in Firelink Shrine. That will give us the ability to be able to warp to other bonfires throughout the rest of the world. But yes, that is it for the intro area itself. We're going to continue on and go explore Firelink Shrine. All right, if you really want to challenge yourself, you can pick up this broken straight sword right here and use that for your playthrough. That will make things nice and difficult for you, as it does basically no damage. But it's kind of a callback to when you start out Dark Souls 1. That's what you start with until you get your starting equipment. So kind of a nice little throwback there. All right, so I'm going to show... Ooh. Okay, this guy wants to be a little annoying. So kicking, you'll see that breaks their stance immediately. Kicking, you just need to press forward and R1 at the same time. So just like that. Any enemy with a shield, that will break their stance immediately. So nice little trick, as opposed to trying to get around them and backstab them or wait for an opportunity to attack them. So definitely something worth using. Again, some enemies with these light shields, you can just hit a couple of times and their stance will break as well. Alright, so right there is Firelink Shrine. We're not going to go there quite yet. There's a few other things to explore around here. Right here is a shield, so if you want to use that, go for it. But the Knight starting shield is pretty good. Alright, now, this guy, Mr. Swordmaster up here, he can absolutely wreck you if you're not prepared. He does big damage, has quite a bit of health, and sometimes these NPC fights can be some of the harder fights in these Souls games. So early on, not really recommended to just like take him on directly, but I'm going to show you a little trick to take him down without even actually fighting him. So make sure to grab his aggro, come down here to the stairs, and just kind of stand right here. And he's going to come down. Just gotta wait for him. Did he back up? Oh, come on, dude. Get over here. Alright, so the trick here is we're trying to bait him off of this ledge. And he is being stubborn. Holy cow. Usually this is a really easy thing to get him to do, but for some reason his AI is being weird. Okay, there we go. So straight off the edge, we get his souls, but we don't get his equipment because he fell off the edge. So the way to do that is go up. This is where he was originally standing. Come here, quit the game, and then if we just reload, his items will be sitting there for us. Boom, there you go. Uchigatana, that causes bleed, so if you want to go that route, it's definitely a viable option. Bleed isn't nearly as good in this game as it is in something like Elden Ring, but it's definitely something that you can choose to do. Alright, so what we just got there was an Ember. That's an item you're going to see quite often throughout the game. That is something that gives you extra HP, makes you human, so if you're playing online, that's what allows you to be invaded or to summon, cooperative players and things like that. So definitely important. After you beat a boss, you automatically get embered. You can see in the top left part of the screen with that little octagon that I've got there. It's all, blazoned, it's all set ablaze or whatever with fire. That means that you're currently embered whenever you see that. So nice little trick there. Homeward Bone, that will, when you use those, you're able to warp immediately either to Firelink Shrine or to the last bonfire that you rested at. So if you're in a tight spot, you got no Estus left, and you don't want to lose the souls that you have, always a good item to be able to use to save yourself. Okay, we've explored all around that we can, so now we are here at Firelink Shrine. This is the central hub of the game, and right here we're going to place that coiled sword. Alright, and this is the Firekeeper. This is probably the most important NPC in the game. As you can see, when you talk to her, level up is one of the options. In Dark Souls 3, you can only level up by talking to the Firekeeper. You can't just level up at any given bonfire like you could in, Dark Souls 1 or Elden Ring. So she's definitely important in that regard. Right now, so when the first time you're leveling up, it can be a little overwhelming in terms of, okay, what do I actually, go into? And that really depends on first kind of what you decided for your starting class. For your starting class, you should evaluate them and decide, okay, do I want to go with a strength build, dexterity build, magic build, faith build, kind of determine what route you're going to go there. And then from that point on, those are the things that you want to kind of focus on in your levels. So vigor, that's just going to be your basic HP and defense. So definitely one of the most important ones to look at. Attunement, that increases your FP as well as your defense, but that's more of like the magic side of things. So it also lets you get more spells that you're able to attune. So gives you a little bit more variety there. Endurance, this is what affects your stamina. And it also affects your defense a little bit as well. Stamina is very important. That's something you're going to want to level throughout the game. However, it is different to, like for example, Dark Souls 1, where endurance does not affect your equip load. That is a separate stat, and that is vitality. Vitality is defense and your equip load. So if you want to be able to wear more armor or use heavier weapons without worrying about having to fat roll, vitality is definitely going to be important as well. Strength, that's one of the things that I'm going to be focusing on in this playthrough, and basically every playthrough of Dark Souls 3 that I do. I'm a great sword, big bonk kind of user, every time that I play through these games. So that's definitely something that I focus on. For now, I'm going to pour all my levels into that so we can get as much damage going as possible. You can see basically every stat does help your defense and resistances a little bit as well. So no matter what you level there, you're at least getting a little something in those areas. Dexterity, that's for more of the, for example, like two-handed weapons or the Uchi Katana that we just got. That's going to scale off of dexterity as well. So that is more the route for those. Strength, again, that's for your big swords or clubs or, stronger weapons like that will scale based off of that. Intelligence and faith are for your spells and miracles if you're going that route of things. And then luck, that helps your item discovery. So if you're, farming, for example, concords of what is it called? I can't even remember. Some of the items that you need for one of the covenants in the game, your luck is going to help out a lot with that, with getting, more of those specific items that have a lower item drop chance. But for this playthrough, I'm not going to really care about luck all that much, but sometimes it is fun to level it and see what you can get as far as drops from enemies go. Alright, as far as my playthrough, so you saw that I put a ton into strength. Pretty much the levels, the attributes that I'm going to be sticking to are vigor, endurance, vitality, and strength, and then a little bit of dexterity, depending on the weapon, because you do need some dexterity to equip a bow. So if you want to be able to have some range in your playthrough, then dexterity is definitely important. All right, this is the Shrine Handmaid. Yeah, that's the item. So she is your basic merchant of the Firelink Shrine. Throughout the game, you'll be able to find ashes that you can give to her that expand her inventory. So think of the bell bearings from Elden Ring, giving those to the Twin Maiden husks at the Round Table Hold. That kind of increases your her inventory of being able to buy things. Similar thing here. If you are playing online and you want to be able to, either leave your summon sign for people or, have a better chance of, cooperating and getting those rewards, definitely recommend getting the White Sign Soapstone to be able to do that. But if this is just a pure, single player thing that you're doing and not interested in any co-op, then you don't need to worry about that. But yeah, bunch of different items. The Dreadfinger is another online item thing. We're going to be trying to save up some souls for this tower key. That's something that we need for a key item later, as well as the Silver Serpent Ring, which gives you more souls for every enemy that you kill. So that's something that I like to have just to be able to level up more frequently and buy more items. So next time we have 20,000 souls to spare, definitely going to be coming back and buying that. And that tower is just in the back, and I'll show you that in a minute. But as far as all the other stuff, none of it's really necessary. I am going to buy a torch right now because I have a bad habit of every playthrough that I do of Dark Souls 3. I forget to buy a torch because there's some enemies later in the game that will spread little, leeches on you or something like that will consistently apply bleed to you, and it will just destroy your health, and there's nothing you can do about it unless you either have a torch or you get hit by fire. That's the only way to get rid of them. So definitely going to have that on hand ready to go for the future. Repair powder, do not waste your time buying that. Your weapons basically never break in Dark Souls 3. It's never going to happen, so that's just a waste of an item. If this was Dark Souls 2 and in that playthrough and guide and everything, I'll definitely recommend buying some repair powder because, man, it's really easy for your weapons to break in that game. But yeah, so that's basically all we're going to buy for now from her shop. Nothing else is really worth looking into. Arrows at some point, yeah, would be good, but we don't even have a bow to start with, so that's all we're going to do for now. All right, any Dark Souls 1 veterans will recognize Andre here. He's our blacksmith to be able to reinforce our weapons. He also, for whatever reason, I don't understand why, but he is our Estus person as well. So allotting Estus is something I mentioned when we first picked up that Ashen Estus flask. We're not going to be doing magic on this playthrough, so I'm going to allot that over to just another Estus flask itself so we have more healing. Reinforced Estus flask. If you find a Estus shard throughout the game, this is where you would bring that to be able to add more charges to your flask. So those are definitely important items to keep an eye out for. We do have a Titanite shard right now, but you do need 2 to level up any weapons. But we have the longsword right now, and I do not care to level that weapon. It kind of sucks, so we're just going to ignore that for now. But yeah, Andre, definitely an important guy to come to. All right, and then aside from that, we've got this dude here. He's the only other NPC in Firelink right now. He's not really important right now, though. He does talk to you about the Abyss Watchers, so if you do want some lore on that, go for it. But aside from that, like I said, he's really not important. Okay, before we move on, I'm just going to show a little bit more of Firelink. So right here is a Tree of a Fallen Giant. If you examine it, it will say a seed of a giant tree is yet to fall. Those things are really good for online. If you are sick of getting invaded and, but you want to keep the online features on and everything like that, those seeds of giants allow the enemies in your world to attack invaders. So pretty nice item to be able to use because sometimes invaders will use that to their advantage and, just kind of ruin your day by getting you cornered somewhere with a bunch of enemies, and they're never going to attack the invader themselves. So, again, if you're doing online, definitely recommend picking that up. All right, you see that item up there? Technically, we can't get it right now, but there is a skip that you can do by climbing up onto this tree and then jumping. I really suck at this trick. I've gotten it to work maybe once throughout all my years of playing this game. If you want a good guide of how to get that also allows you to get up and get the Silver Serpent Ring early, like I was mentioning before. So if you're interested in doing that, definitely look up a guide for it. I can't tell you the exact angle that you need to go at or anything like that. I've never been able to do it consistently, but that's there for you. All right, well, that is all there is to explore in Firelink Shrine. So now we're going to go down. to the coiled sword, rest at this bonfire, and the game doesn't really tell you. One other thing real quick. Burning an undead bone shard. If you find undead bone shards throughout the world, those allow the Estus flasks to have more substance to them or whatever. They have a greater effect, so they heal you more. So those are another one, just like Estus shards to keep an eye out for. But yeah, so the game doesn't really make it clear to you. If you got to this point, you're kind of like, okay, where do I go next? You kind of expect to just find a place in Firelink to go to, but no, that's not the case. Instead, you have to go here and hit travel to High Wall of Lothric, and that is where you're going to want to go. You can see the previous bonfires that we've already created up to this point, or been to. You can warp to any of those at any time, but for now, we're going to go to High Wall of Lothric and begin that part. So that is it for this introductory part. Hopefully that was enough information, and like I said, we were able to get basically everything in Firelink that we can for the moment. So next part will be going through all of the High Wall of Lothric and the boss that awaits us there. So if you are continuing this journey with me and continue to go through this walkthrough, I do appreciate it. So keep an eye out for that part. I'm going to have each individual part for specific areas throughout the game. So if there's any part that you're just stuck and you need to look for a specific area, I will have specific videos for each area in this game. But I appreciate you stopping by and starting off this playthrough with me, and hope to catch you in some of our later parts. As always, liking, subscribing, that kind of stuff goes a long way. So if you have the ability to be able to do that, it's all free. It doesn't do anything to you, but it does go a long way for me. So appreciate it if you do so. But we'll go ahead and end this part here and see you in part 2.